Why nation trades? Nation trade a lot, but it is not quite evident why they do so. Put differently, why do private individuals and firms take the trouble of conducting business with people who live far away, speak different language, and operate under different legal and economic systems? Why they can trade with fellow citizens without having to overcome any of those obstacles? Why do nations export? Exports are easier to explain than imports. At last, since the beginning of the industrial era almost 30 countries ago, countries have tended to sell things to other countries either because one, individuals and firms have been able to produce more of certain goods and services than can be consumed at home. This prom- this prompted a search for foreign opportunities to sell the excess productions. Two, individuals and firms have been able to sell goods or services to other countries at prices higher than the prices they can obtain domestically. In today's global economy, exporting serves somewhat different purpose for developing and industrial countries. Although the economies of developing countries are typical not as economically productive as the economies of industrial countries, developing countries non nonetheless produce some goods and services in amounts they are unable to use or consume at home, called a production surplus. For example, some developing countries produce vast quantities of agriculture products, like Coca-Cola includes the ivory and coffee in Latin America, which their own population are not large enough to consume. Other developing countries produce quantities of industrial valuable minerals like oil or iron ore that their own economies are too small or insufficiently industrialized to use. But for many developing countries, export also serves the purpose of earning foreign currency with which they can buy essential import foreign produce that they are not able to manufacture, mine, or grow at home. Developing countries is other word, sell exports in part so they can import. Exporting goods and services can also further advantage developing nations' domestic economies. Interconnectivity to global trade can also be problematic. For example, up until 2008, Japan had a booming export business with the United States. When American consumers became unable to buy Japanese products, Japanese companies lost that business.